You get the kid. That's what she said. 11 years of marriage. Boiled down to 4 words, she spat like gum. She didn't want to chew anymore. We were standing in the kitchen. The papers had been filed. Lawyers were already involved. I thought we'd talk like adults. Try to make this easier for our son. But instead, she leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, smirking like she'd won some twisted game. I'm taking the dog, she added with a sneer. You get the kid. Then her mother, Cheryl, who never missed an opportunity to throw gasoline on a fire, chuckled and said, well, at least the dog's trained. My knuckles turned white around the mug I was holding. I didn't say a word. Not yet. I wasn't done watching this unfold. Not until I knew exactly who I'd married. Her name is Jessica. Blonde. Blue-eyed. Could light up a room when she wanted to. But lately, that light wasn't shining for me. It hadn't in years. And I ignored it because we had a son. Because I believed in loyalty. Because I thought maybe marriages just got boring after a while. Stupid. It started 2 years ago. The late-night work calls. The sudden gym memberships. The laughter at texts I wasn't allowed to see. She'd twist her phone away like it was a reflex. And when I'd ask who it was, she'd smile and say, God, you're so insecure, Michael. Insecure? That word was her shield. Anytime I got too close to the truth, she pulled it out like a sword and sliced me down. And I'd fall for it, over and over again. I tried harder. Bought flowers. Took her out. Wrote her notes like we were still in college. But nothing stuck. Nothing worked. And eventually, I stopped trying. Until I found the receipt. It was tucked inside her coat pocket. A dinner bill from a place she told me was gross just a month earlier. 2 entrees. 1 dessert. Champagne. A $300 bill. And the name written on the reservation? Jaden. I don't know a Jaden. So I asked. She laughed. Are you serious right now? She said, scoffing like I was the clown in her comedy special. That was just a dinner with friends from work. Grow up. I didn't push. Not then. Because I knew if I pushed, she'd shut down. Or worse, she'd double down. But from that moment, I started watching. Quietly. Carefully. And what I saw made my stomach turn. She wasn't just cheating. She was erasing me from her life piece by piece, like I was a chalk drawing on a sidewalk after the rain. My toothbrush disappeared from the bathroom. She switched our wedding photo with a framed motivational quote. And the family calendar on the fridge suddenly didn't have any of my travel dates. She was preparing to eject me. I just didn't know how far she'd already gone. Then one night, I walked past my son's bedroom. He was texting under the covers, face lit up by his phone. I knocked and stepped in. He shoved it under the pillow like he'd been caught with contraband. Who were you texting? I asked. He hesitated, then said, Mom. I didn't think much of it. Until the next morning, when she kissed him goodbye and whispered, Don't forget what I told you. Okay, baby. He nodded. She didn't look at me. Not once. Fast forward to court day. Custody hearing. Tension thick in the air. Jessica sat on the opposite side of the courtroom in a black dress like it was a funeral, probably mine. Her lawyer looked smug. Her mom, sitting behind her, chewed gum like a pit bull on a chew toy. Then my son, our 10-year-old boy, stood up when the judge asked if he wanted to say anything. He looked at me first, then at her, then at the judge. Can I read what Mom texted me last night? The whole room froze. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. Jessica's lawyer turned pale, like someone had unplugged all the blood from his body. And for the first time, Jessica looked scared. Not angry, not smug, scared. And I just sat there, silent. Because this wasn't my fight anymore. My son was about to take the truth and shove it straight down the throat of the lies she thought would protect her. And I was ready to watch the show. The judge nodded. Go ahead, son. My boy pulled out his phone, hands shaking slightly. His voice was steady, though. He cleared his throat and began reading. Tomorrow, when the judge asks, you say you want to live with Daddy. I already told them I don't want full custody. I can't handle your moods. And if you say anything different, I swear I'll make your life harder than it already is. The silence that followed felt eternal. No one moved. Not a whisper. Not a cough. Just the air itself holding its breath. Jessica's mouth dropped open. Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't react. Cheryl muttered under her breath, but even she didn't have a comeback for that. The judge stared at Jessica like she'd just confessed to burning the courthouse down. Is that accurate, ma'am? He finally asked. Jessica stammered. I didn't mean, he misunderstood. I was just trying to. The judge cut her off. Don't lie to me in my courtroom. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. My son just proved more than any lawyer ever could. That message wasn't just a mistake, it was proof. Proof that Jessica saw our son as a burden, not a person. Proof that all her crocodile tears were nothing more than theater. And now, the curtain had fallen. Her lawyer asked for a recess. Denied. The judge made his ruling 15 minutes later. Primary custody, awarded to me. Visitation, supervised. Jessica stood frozen. Even as the gavel came down, she didn't speak. She just glared at me like I was the villain in a play she wrote. But I wasn't the villain. I was just the one who stayed. Afterward, outside the courthouse, she stormed up to me. No cameras. No judge. Just raw venom. You think you've won? She hissed. You'll be begging me to take him back when he starts acting like a little freak, just like you. I looked her dead in the eyes. Calm. Cold. No, I said. He's nothing like me. He's better. Because he'll grow up knowing the truth. And you? You'll grow old choking on it. She scoffed and walked away, heels clicking like they were trying to outpace her shame. That night, my son sat across from me at the dinner table. He didn't say much, just picked at his food. Then, quietly, he asked, "Did you know she hated me that much?" I didn't lie. "I think she doesn't know how to love anyone but herself," I said. "But that's her weakness, not yours." He nodded. Didn't cry. He just got up, walked over, and hugged me. That was the first real hug I'd had in years. And it broke me. Not because I was sad, but because I knew, finally, that the nightmare was over. The next few weeks were quiet. Too quiet, honestly. After years of chaos, after the gaslighting, the walking on eggshells, the late-night arguments that went nowhere, I didn't know what to do with the silence. No slamming doors. No fake apologies. No tension so thick you could slice it with a knife. Just me and my son. Breathing. Healing. But the peace didn't last. Jessica couldn't let it go. She never could. When someone like her loses control, they don't regroup. They retaliate. It started with petty things. Emails from fake accounts calling me a deadbeat. Anonymous comments on my business page claiming I was abusive, a drunk, a failure. Then came the surprise wellness check at the house. Someone had reported me for erratic behavior around my son. The officer was professional. Polite. Did a walkthrough. My son showed him his room, his books, his soccer trophies. The officer even chuckled, said, "This is the cleanest custody case I've ever seen." Still, it rattled me. She wasn't done trying to ruin me. I contacted my lawyer. Filed a harassment report. But Jessica was slippery. Always just on the edge of provable. Just enough to shake me without crossing the line. Just enough to make me second-guess if I was losing it. But I wasn't. Then came the unexpected twist. One afternoon, I got a call from Jessica's lawyer. He sounded tired. Defeated. "Mr. Carter," he said, "I need to ask. Has your son shared any further messages from Ms. Carter?" "Why?" He hesitated. "She's made statements that are causing issues with our firm. One of our partners is recommending we drop her." I leaned back in my chair. "Let me guess. She sent something reckless." There was a pause. "She told your son she wished she had given him up for adoption when he was born. That he ruined her 20s. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I was afraid of what would come out of my mouth. She also sent him a photo of her and a man, partially undressed, captioned, "This is what real love looks like. Not your father's pathetic begging." I stood up, heart pounding. "She sent that to a 10-year-old? "Yes. And I'm informing you so you can take appropriate steps. We're pulling out of her case. She needs help, Mr. Carter. Real help." I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I went straight to my son's room. He was sitting on the floor, headphones in, watching cartoons. He looked up when I opened the door, and I saw it in his eyes. He'd already seen the message, and it had broken something inside him. I sat next to him and said nothing, just wrapped my arm around his shoulder. He leaned into me. After a minute, he whispered, "I don't want to talk to her anymore." I nodded. "You don't have to. But I still miss her, even though she's mean." That one cut deeper than any betrayal she ever gave me, because my son still loved her, and she didn't deserve it. The next morning, I scheduled a session with a child therapist. I didn't want to wait until the damage became permanent. I knew what it was like to grow up with wounds no one saw, the ones that didn't bleed but never healed. My father was emotionally absent, my mother emotionally explosive. I swore I'd break the cycle. I wouldn't let my boy become another man silently screaming inside. The therapist was kind. Warm eyes, soft tone. My son opened up quicker than I expected. Talked about the text. About the photos. About how he used to think his mom was a superhero, but now she felt like a stranger in a costume. When we got back in the car, he asked, "Do you think she ever loved us?" That question hit me like a wrecking ball. I didn't answer right away. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that some people only love themselves, and the rest of us are just mirrors for them to admire their reflection in? I think she loved the idea of us, I finally said. But love without actions isn't love. It's just decoration. He looked out the window, didn't respond. But I saw it, the beginning of understanding. That night, Jessica showed up at our front door. No warning, no call, just stood there like she still had a key. I didn't open the screen door. She was wearing a low-cut blouse, too much perfume, and that fake smile she used when she was lying. "Michael," she cooed, "I think we should talk." "No," I said flatly. "We're done talking." She stepped closer. "You're really going to keep him from me? I'm still his mother." "You were," I said. "Now you're a liability." She laughed. "You think you're better than me? You think your halo's so shiny just because you tricked him into testifying." He told the truth, I snapped. "Something you haven't done in years." She changed tactics in an instant. The venom was back. "You'll ruin him. He's already soft, just like his father. You think he's going to grow up and thank you for raising him like some spineless doormat." I stepped forward. "Get off my property, Jessica." She stared at me for a long moment, like she was trying to burn holes in me with her eyes. Then she turned around and muttered, "This isn't over." I watched her walk back to her car, heels catching in the gravel. She looked ridiculous, like a queen stripped of her throne but still clinging to the illusion. Inside, my son was peeking through the blinds. "She's not coming back, right?" he asked. "Not if I can help it," I said. He nodded, pulled the blinds shut, and walked away. And just like that, we both began to believe it. Maybe this time, it really was over. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Not an email, not a text. A real letter, in a cream-colored envelope, with her handwriting on the front. Looped, dramatic, always pretending to be something it wasn't. For a moment, I considered throwing it away. But something in me wanted to see the last card she thought she had. I opened it. It wasn't an apology. Of course not. It was a 3-page rant. Page 1 blamed me for everything. For suffocating her, for stealing her freedom, for turning our son into my little soldier. Page 2 focused on her own pain. How the world had been unfair to her. How being a mother ruined her body and her career. How I was just dead weight she dragged through her 20s. Page 3. That was the final blow. She wrote that she was leaving the country with Jaden. That she was finally choosing happiness. And that when our son turned 18, she'd explain to him what really happened and how I had manipulated the whole thing. No remorse. No accountability. Just a bitter farewell wrapped in delusion. I didn't show the letter to my son. There was no need to poison him further. Instead, I sat down at the kitchen table, looked around at the quiet home we'd rebuilt, and felt something new stir inside me. Relief. Not the dramatic kind. Not a wave of euphoria. But a quiet, still kind of freedom. The kind that settles into your bones when the storm finally moves on. Later that evening, my son came into the kitchen. "Dad," he said, "can I tell you something without you getting mad?" "Of course," I replied. "I had a dream last night. That she came back. But it wasn't scary. I just told her to go away, and she listened." I looked at him, 10 years old, but carrying more than most grown men I knew. "You know what that dream means?" I asked. He shook his head. "It means your mind's starting to realize you're safe now. That she can't hurt you anymore." He smiled. Not a big one, but real. It was enough. We spent that weekend doing normal things. We built a treehouse, ate too much pizza, watched old action movies with bad CGI. For the first time in years, laughter didn't feel like a mask. But the world didn't stop turning. Monday morning, I got a call from my lawyer. "Michael," he said, "you'll want to hear this. Jessica's visa application was flagged. Turns out Jaden's being investigated for fraud. She might be implicated." I should have been surprised, but I wasn't. "Will this affect custody?" I asked. "Positively. Judges don't take kindly to mothers trying to flee the country with felons." I thanked him and hung up. Later that day, my son asked if we could donate some of the old photos, ones with her in them. Not burn them. I asked with a smile. "Nah," he said. "Burning's for people who are still angry. I'm just done." I nodded. So was I? Weeks passed. Spring melted into summer, and with it, the last frost of that cold chapter in our lives. The house started to feel like ours, not like the ruins of something that used to be. I painted the living room. My son chose the color. Ocean gray, he called it. Not too sad, not too bright. That's what we were now. Not too sad, not too bright, but alive. He started sleeping through the night again. No more waking up in cold sweats. No more questions about why his mother didn't say goodnight. His grades picked up. He made the soccer team. The boy who used to flinch at shadows was starting to run toward the sun again. Then, one evening, as I was cleaning out the garage, I found the old box. Our wedding album, buried under a pile of old cables and broken Christmas lights. I sat on the concrete floor, the box in my lap. I hadn't seen it in years. Had forgotten it even existed. But there it was, our smiles frozen in time. Jessica in her white dress, me in that nervous tux, holding hands like we believed the words we'd said just minutes earlier. I almost threw it out, but something stopped me. I didn't keep it for nostalgia. I kept it as evidence, not of her betrayal, but of my growth, of everything I'd survived, of how far I'd come from that man in the photo who had no idea what storm was brewing behind that smile. I sealed the box again and shoved it back on the shelf. That chapter was over. One Saturday morning, while we were having pancakes, my son asked, "Dad, do you think I'll ever forget all of it?" I put my fork down. "I hope you don't," I said. "Not because it was good, but because it made you strong. And because remembering helps you never let it happen again." He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, can we get a dog?" I laughed. "You want the dog now?" He grinned. "Well, Mom took hers. I want a real one." A month later, we adopted a golden retriever. Named him Atlas, because my son said he wanted someone strong enough to carry the whole world. And maybe, in some way, he already was. One evening, a full year after the court hearing, I got a message request on social media from a name I hadn't seen in a long time. Jessica. I stared at it for a while, unsure if I wanted to open it. Part of me already knew what it would say. Regret always finds its way back, even if it arrives dressed in manipulation. Curiosity won. I clicked. It was short. Unlike her. "Tell him I'm sorry." That's all. That was it. No plea for visitation. No fake tears. No attempt to explain away her choices. Just a line that landed like an echo in an empty room. I didn't reply. I showed it to my son. He read it, blinked once, and said, "Okay," then went back to his homework. And that was when I realized he didn't need closure from her. He had built something better, peace without permission. Weeks later, we ran into Cheryl at the grocery store. Her hair was grayer now, and the fire behind her eyes had faded to smoke. She looked surprised to see us, like she'd just glimpsed a ghost that didn't belong to her anymore. "Hi," she said flatly, like politeness was the only weapon left in her arsenal. My son said nothing, just stared at her. She forced a smile. "You're growing up fast." Still, no reply. I put my hand on his shoulder and said, "Come on, buddy, frozen pizzas are waiting." We walked away. She didn't follow. Back in the car, he asked, "Do I have to see her?" "No," I said. "You don't owe anyone anything, especially not people who let you down." He nodded slowly, then reached over and turned on the radio. A song came on, one we used to listen to when things were normal, when the three of us were still pretending to be a family. He turned it up, not down. We sang along, not out of memory, but out of victory, because every verse we belted was a reminder. We were still here, still standing, still whole, and nothing she did could ever change that. A year turned into 2. Atlas grew from a clumsy puppy into a loyal shadow that followed my son everywhere. The house had new photos on the walls now. No more wedding albums, no forced smiles, no ghosts pretending to be memories. Just real moments. Soccer trophies, camping trips, pancake mornings with syrup on noses. One night, while we sat on the porch watching Atlas chase fireflies, my son said something I'll never forget. "You know what I realized, Dad? You didn't just save me from her. You saved me from becoming like her." I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. My throat locked up, and the only thing I could do was pull him into a hug. He didn't pull away. The truth is, I didn't feel like a hero. Not then. Maybe not ever. I made mistakes. I waited too long to leave. I let her lie to both of us, over and over again. But I fought when it mattered. I showed up when it counted. And maybe that's what being a father really is. Being the net that catches your child when someone else tries to throw them away. Jessica eventually moved out of state. Word came through mutual friends that Jaden left her, took her money, and ran. She tried suing him. Lost. She tried coming back. No one answered the door. As for my son, he's thriving. Top of his class. Strong, but not bitter. He knows the value of love because he's seen the damage of its counterfeit. People ask me sometimes if I'll ever date again. Maybe. One day. But right now, I'm not chasing someone to fix what she broke. I'm building something from scratch, with the one person who never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. To anyone reading this, here's what I learned. If someone shows you they don't value you, believe them. If they laugh while you're drowning, stop trying to teach them to swim. Some people only love the power they feel when you're weak. And most importantly, don't fight to save a family that was never a family to begin with. Build a new one. Even if it's just you, a 10-year-old boy, and a golden retriever named Atlas. Because sometimes, that's more than enough.